You never ever know about the NWO. Deep behind enemy lines of the New World Order for August the 6th, 2020. More Earth changes and geopolitical upheaval, and another update to the New World Order from the No Link News Desk. You won't see this earthquake prediction or news from Doomsday Dutchie's Magic 3D Earthquake Crystal Ball first. So in case you missed it, or you want to wait and see sloppy seconds from Doomsday Dutchie, let's get to the science of things. So, back in 1998, Mitch Petros on Coast to Coast with Art Bell came out and described the Earth changes equation. And this equation shattered the scientific world. And today, the space weather program at NASA has now utilized this equation in determining space weather forecasts, Dutchie. So anyways, here we'll get to the science things, tell you about how sunspots on the sun gets active. When it gets active, it starts making sunspots. When these sunspots get active, they produce energy particles that are ejected from the sun called a solar flare. These charged particles, these energetic particles, travel across space, and when they hit Earth's atmosphere, the ionosphere, and the magnetic bubble, it causes the magnetic field to shift. And this causes shifting oceans and the jet stream currents to shift. And so from this charged particle energy, the shifting oceans and shifting jet streams cause extreme weather and human disruption. This is Mitch Petros' 1998 equation on Earth changes and space weather. He wrote a book called Solar Rain. But today in the top headlines, we're going to now move to the next scene and show you how plate tectonics play a major key in cosmic evolution. And so today's top headline, breaking around the world. Yes, and the latest study today now hitting the scientific community, Dutchie. You're a little slow, but we've been studying this thing since, like I said, for a little while. Plate tectonics is a fundamental in understanding cosmic evolution. So what is cosmic evolution? Well, I'm about ready. Let me walk over here. Let me see if let me grab the secret doctrine and see if see if any of you understand Helen Blavatsky's thoughts on the 7 cycles of the sun. Or, as the Mayans claim, they're sun cycles. So we're now going to, get into the cycles of science of things. This is the secret occult knowledge hidden from mankind being revealed here today. Well, not revealed today, but it's been revealed. I'm just, research and replaying it, to the echo chamber. I think it'd be quite fitting, to put some spirit guides in the music with us. Right, yeah, here we go. Let's see, we'll flip through the pages. Cosmic Evolution, the 7 stanzas translated with commentaries from the Book of Design. So do you know? Nor not existed yon bright sky was not, nor heaven's broad roof outstretched above. What covered all? What sheltered? What concealed? Was it the water's fathomless abyss? There was not death, yet there was not immortal. There was no confine betwixt day and night. The only one that breathed breathless by itself. Other than it, there nothing since has been. Darkness there was, and all at first was veiled in gloom profound. An ocean without light. The germ that still lay covered in the husk burst forth, one nature from the fervent heat. Who knows thy secret? Who proclaimed it here? Whence this manifold creation sprang? The gods themselves came later into being. Who knows from whence this great creation sprang? That whence all this great creation came, whether it was created or was mute, the Most High Seer is in heaven highest. He knows it, or perchance he even knows not. Gazing into eternity, ere the foundations of the earth were laid, thou wert, and when the subterranean flame shall burst its prison and devour the frame, thou shalt be still as thou wert before, and knew no change. When time shall come no more, O endless thought, divine eternity. So where is it all going to end, right? Book of Revelation speak of these things also, don't they? The eternal parent, wrapped in her ever-invisible robes, had submerged once again in the seven eternities. Time was not, for it lay asleep in the infinite bosom of duration. The seven ways to bliss were not, the great causes of misery were not, for there was no one to produce and get ensnared by them. Cosmic evolution, in the seven stanzas translated from the Book of Design. Stanza 4. Listen, ye sons of the earth, to the instructions of the sons of fire. Learn there is neither first nor last, for all is one, numbered issued from number one. Learn what who descend from the primordial seven, we who are born from the primordial flame, have learnt from our fathers. The primordial seven, the first seven breasts of the dragon of wisdom, produce in their turn from the holy circumventing breast of the fiery whirlwind. They make of him the messenger of their will. He is their guiding spirit leader. Stanza 6. By the power of Mother of Mercy and Knowledge, Quin in the triple of Quan Shai Yin, residing in Quan Yin Tin, full hot the breath of their progeny, the son of their sons, having called forth from the lower abyss the elusive form of Shantang and seven elements. Stanza 7. Behold the beginning of sentiment formless life. First the divine, the one from the mother spirit, then the spiritual, the three from whom the one, the four from whom the one, the five from which the three, the five and the seven. These are the threefold, the fourfold downward, the mind-born, the sons of the first Lord, the shining seven. If you watch and read the commentaries on these eternal parents, the parent space, ever-present cause of all, so the universal mind and the veil of illusion continues today in today's topic of tectonic plates that are were the builders of the luminous suns, of the magnific dawn, the unknown darkness, the builders, the real creators of the universe, which deals with the planetary systems as the architects of the latter are so-called the watchers, which exoterically are the 7 planets, and esoterically 7 Earths, or spheres, all in a chain. Opening the sentence of stanza 1 and mentioning 7 eternities. Well in the sola pralaya, and subsequent resurrection of the planetary system on a high plane. Flipping through the pages of the secret doctrine of the cosmic cycles, besides the occultists themselves are ready to concede partial correctness to Darwin's hypothesis by laws of evolution and midway point of the 4th race. Of that which was taken physical science can really know nothing, for which matters lie entirely outside the sphere of investigation. But what the occultists have never admitted, nor will they ever admit, is that man was an ape, and in this and any other round, that he ever could be one, however much he may have been ape-like. This is vouched for by the very authority from whom the author of esoteric Buddhism gets its information. So as time will show that the planet was one and broke and expanded into pieces. Expanded and broke into pieces, my fault. Subsequently, now laying the foundation of the teachings of this ancient doctrine and authentic letters of the intellectual development of evolution. Meaning metaphysically, the Kabbalists preeminently desired to reconcile this occult scientists and church dogmas. So in time, this present mystery is now being revealed as the cycles of the sun may remain the main mystery of the age of the serpent. Genesis begins the anthropology at the wrong end and lands nowhere. But it began as it ought. One would have found first the celestial logos of heavenly man, which evolves as a compound unit of logoi, out of whom, after their parallelic sleep, a sleep that gathers the ciphers scattered on the Mayavic plane into one. The evolution of symbolism. A symbol is ever to him who has eyes for it, some dimmer or clearer revelation of God-like through all their glimmers, something of divine idea, the highest assignment that man ever met and embraced under the cross itself, had no meaning save an accidental extraterrestrial one. The study of the hidden meaning of every religion. The tree and serpent worship. The seven creations. The four elements of the ancients. Skeptics may be agitated at this phenomenon. The serpentary cycles, known as the cosmic energy, impels the activity of Aryan antiquity. Cosmic ideation is said to be non-existent. But today, let anyone read the first verses of Genesis and reflect upon that God commands another God whom does the building. In the beginning. As God fashioned the heavens and the earth, and without form and void, while for former there was in fact chaos, darkness upon the face of the planet. And the Spirit of God moved the waters, and this Spirit moved the continents. The one universal light, which is man is darkness, is ever existent in the book of Numbers. So in this deep, dark future world, when one awakens to feel that they have been sanctified in the light ever present, awoke anew the Brahmas and Buddhas, the co-eternal forces of the new universe, the Kabbalistic book of creation, the divine substance, the ascension into heaven. God bless its name, this word by the Holy Spirit, for the Trinity emanated from the whole cosmos. First, from one emanated, number two, the Father created the elements, and three, water preceded the mother, which preceded the air, the ether or fire, completes this mystic four. When concealed, the mysterious Mayan fifth element, for whom we have just unveiled. Make it the mind who see the flaming fire and cosmic character as the rising elements of the Spirit permeates every atom in the cosmos. Spirit, chaos, and cosmos. The triad, the mu-dun egg. Whence is this the universal symbol? The egg, incorporated as a sacred sign of cosmology. Every person on earth, revered in its inner mystery, Mother Earth, may soon be given birth to a child, a son of the sun gods. So teaching these secrets explains the reason why the earth is expanding inside and at one time was one continent, now broken into many, as the cosmic cycles describe the days ahead as man will be left on the surface of this planet naked and on fire. So the reason being, having chosen to find that those who have the power Yeah, the master class are going to be traveling to Mars. Why? Why is this ritual so important? Why are they fleeing the planet? Yeah, they know the fiery serpents of old. Osiris was born from the egg like the Brahma. With the Egyptians concealed God, their serpent kings are double fabulous mythical entities for the masses. All right. Enough reading of the secret doctrine. We're going to move to the next scene. As you understand the 7 cycles of cosmic evolution outlined in the secret doctrine by Helen Blavatsky, brings us up to speed to bring you all into the mix, how this is fundamentally tied into plate tectonics. So breaking news today, plate tectonics goes global. Today, the entire globe is broken up into tectonic plates that are shifting past each other, causing the continents to drift slowly but steadily. But this has not always been the case. The earliest evidence for plate tectonics features which could have been localized does not signify when plate tectonics become a global phenomenon. So Doomsday Dutchie, you know all about this plate tectonics going global today, don't you, on the news, huh? You know, I'm sure you're going to be one of those disinfo researchers who'll tie this all into your psychobabble earthquake forecast bullshit. But a research team led by Dr. Wan Bo from the Institute of Geology and Physics of the Chinese Academy of Science has revealed today that the plate tectonics went global 2 billion years ago. The study published in Science Advances on August the 5th. Yeah. Earth is 4.56 billion years old. Although geologists have argued the plate tectonics being operational for early as 4 billion years ago, this study to provide proof of how the continents have broken apart, spread apart on the planet, and nobody has a clue. Not even Doomsday Dutchie under the disinfo magic earthquake 3D crystal ball can figure out how the subduction of pushing one plate beneath another when 2 plates converge is one of the telltale signs of plate tectonics. So here we go. As usually as dense as Doomsday Dutchie is, the ocean crust is pushed back into a deep earth as continents hide below. Like Atlantis, for example. So when the continents collide, something's going to happen. And this latest new study proves how Atlantis sunk under the ocean. The best known continental collision on Earth today is the Himalaya Mountains, Doomsday Dutchie. As India slams into Eurasia, the smaller continent of India is pushed beneath the mega continent, and geologists can image this collision with seismology. Waves from Earth show Eurasia wrapping up on top of India, Dutchie. But I don't know where you get your bullshit fucking seismic pressure transfer theory bullshit fantasy studies from, but hey, the IGG researchers designed a seismological study to investigate the structure of the ancient crust at one of the oldest, most stable regions, Ordos. Now it's mostly flat without any high mountains. However, they found essentially the deep structure, even though dipping structures were found identical to what we see in Himalaya today, what we saw 2 billion years ago. So one of their top evidence of ancient subduction in China, the researchers demonstrated that several continents with seismological studies showed similar dippings in structures 2 billion years ago too. The authors do a very nice job, Dutchie, in describing how these results and placing them into a larger scale context. They're the expert on ancient plate tectonics, not me, but as we find, it seems to be part of my studies in confirming what we know, even though Doomsday Dutchie had no clue how magma flows under the planet, even though there was indications early on, 2 billion years ago, that we can say plate tectonics became a global network. So it's like an invention of the World Wide Web, Dutchie. Even though the internet existed some form in another decades before you came along, like me, who are still here, back in the 1990s when the information age began. So it was when these plate tectonics first saw the light of day on Art Bell's Coast to Coast radio show. Dum-dum. You see what I'm saying? But hey, the dumbass Doomsday Dutchie still hasn't shown up how scientific evidence of subduction from 6 continents at this new age is being interpreted as the oldest evidence of global evolution. Cosmic evolution, that is. And the continental indicators now identified and prove that the plate networks once existed in a supercontinent. Yeah. Immediately proving how all these pyramids used to be connected, and no coincidence without argument can now be shown. Yeah. The old world order was under the age of the serpent. So here we go. I'm going to take you and show you. Here's the this is the seismological evidence for the earliest global subduction networks. You see, they've pretty much drawn the maps of how these tectonic plates work, Dutchie. Pretty much where you make your forecast every day. Like none of us have figured out the Ring of Fire yet, but hey, who am I to point out these seismic stations from the north-south, from the stable interior of your craton plate, perceiving and seeing and showing, hey, North China has one too. Huh? Look at that. Have you ever seen the North China craton plate yet, Doomsday Dutchie? Yeah. I'm sure you're just full of all kinds of disinfo, as this latest study proves you're a fraud when it comes to forecasting Earth changes and cosmic evolution. Okay? How the crust is breaking apart in different pieces, moving in different ways. Yeah. As the first supercontinent at one time was called Pangea. Imagine that. Now we have continental drift, bringing apart and shifting the Earth's freaking continents all around the planet. Might understand that I could feel in the mix. Hey, look at this. Pacific Ocean is shrinking, Dutchie. August 5th, 2020, the Pacific Ocean is the world's largest ocean. It's massive, with an estimated area of 63.8 million square miles. You make it think it's like an inch or two on your magic 3D earthquake crystal ball. It makes up 28% of the Earth's surface, so may explain why the Earth's continents float around like they're on water. Since the Earth is pretty much comprised by 3/4 water. But hey, I might have pointed out, the Pacific Ocean is shrinking at a rate of 0.5 square kilometers a year due to plate tectonics. So now we're going to throw this into, argument into the mix there, all you global warming tree hugger fruit cakes, you know. You talk about the polar ice caps melting and causing the oceans to rise and the coastlines to be flooded and wiping out civilization. But in this theory, it's showing that oceans are shrinking due to the plate tectonics and scientific theory outlayer in the lithosphere made up of individual pieces called plate tectonics and the constant motion. These plates were responsible for the fragmentation of the supercontinent Pangaea around 200 million years ago. Imagine that. So now how are we going to play all this in with, the cosmic cycles and the evolution of races? Yeah. Seems to be it all fits in, ties right in. The cosmic evolution, the evolution of races, and then we got to have all those, Black Lives Matter people out there and Antifa fuckers that still don't want to see how the C4 is spreading apart and all these have destroyed old races and creating new ones. No, they don't want to see that shit in the mix of things. So, hey, wake up out there. I'm gonna bring it up to speed, show you how the mans know about it too, okay? You're gonna bring you up to speed. You're gonna wake up one day. That's what all these earth changes is all about. Me and Fifth Element's gonna come wake your ass up. So get used to it. Doomsday Dutchie. Yeah. 5 elements of nature. Have you ever figured all this metaphysical science shit out? Well, I'm sure the Iris has, yeah. Let's move over here and bring you into speed there about how tectonic plates work, Dutchie. Okay? Or seismic waves work. Because obviously you got your head up your ass when it comes to figuring out how long it takes for seismic waves to work. Okay? This guy's got it all figured out better than you. Wait a minute. I didn't want to go live. How'd he get in here? Well, we'll go off to here. See what we got back. Why did all my... Oh, man. This sucks. How do you stop that shit? Mofos in my way, always systematically causing problems. Gee, many crickets, this YouTube. Just keep playing videos over and over again. Autoplay, it sucks. When you want to just stop a video, it won't stop. It just autoplays. Bullshit. So then we go back to Helen Blavatsky and how it ties into the secret doctrine she wrote about. But before we get to there, let's see, it plays. Automatic plays. I didn't want to play this shit. It's playing. Okay, it's not playing. Not playing. Is it playing? Not playing. It's playing. Playing. See? Autoplay. I didn't want all this autoplay shit. Why is this autoplay on? How do I shut it off? Where's it at? Where's the autoplay button at? Where's the autoplay button at? Oh, man. Anyways. We're going to show you how seismic works, Dutch. Seismic waves work, not seismic pressure. Seismic waves are not pressure. They're sound waves.
End of this presentation so that the students who are more familiar with the technique are more engaged with today's presentation. So I'll continue on. Again, I'm Elizabeth Berg from the University.
Well, that's just taking a little too long for her to come up with, but this was the scene I wanted to show. Seismic waves.
40 meters high, and which severely damaged a nuclear power plant, and there were nearly 16,000 people who died in the earthquake and the tsunami. So let's get started though in looking at what the earthquake did as the waves traveled through the earth. So as you probably remember, the waves we're going to look at, the P waves are shown with red lines, the S waves are shown with blue lines, the surface waves are shown with yellow lines, and our recording stations, our seismographs, are shown as red triangles. So let's go ahead and start things up looking at the surface. So there's our earthquake, and as soon as things are starting moving, we're seeing our P wave out here in front, followed by the S wave. And you'll see as the P wave gets further and further away from the earthquake, the distance between the P and the S wave, so that means the time between the P and the S wave, gets further and further apart as well. And then behind the S wave, you're seeing the surface waves. So now we're going further and further. We're seeing how far the P waves have gone. There's the S waves. There's our surface waves. Let's pause it for a minute. And let's look at our first station here, GUMO. We go over here, we'll see the P wave came in first, followed by the S wave, which is just arriving right now. If we want to go look at the first station, we can go and look at the other side of the Earth. Let's look over here. And we'll say here that the station MAJO was very close to the earthquake. So really the P and the S waves were almost the same time. Now let's go back. So we'll go back over to the side we're looking at. And so now let's keep watching a little further and see what happens. So now we'll spin a bit further here. So now we're seeing the P wave has gotten all the way to Hawaii. And you'll notice there's two red lines. You may have wondered why that was. The first red line is the first P wave arriving. The second one is also a P wave, but it's a P wave that went down into the Earth, bounced off the Earth's surface, then went back down in the Earth, and then came up again. So it's traveling like a P wave and as fast as a P wave, but it had to go a little further. So that's why you see it behind the first P wave. The same thing is true for the two S waves. And then you see that these surface waves are slowly falling behind. And if we go just a little further, we'll see that the surface waves are beginning to show up here at station GUMO. And as you learn in your exercise, the surface waves are the largest by far of the waves that we see on the Earth's surface as measured by seismographs. Now we look about what time it is so far. We're now, at this point, we're almost 15 minutes after the earthquake, and the station out here at this side of the U.S., way out here, its P wave is just getting there. So it's taking 15 minutes to go around that far around the Earth. And if we keep watching, let's start up again. We'll see our S waves. We can speed it up a little bit. We'll see the S waves are traveling further and further. Now you see these surface waves just about finishing at Guomo, and now at Kip here in Hawaii. We're finally getting surface waves. So now we are at 25 minutes, and these surface waves, they're just getting here. And you see how much further they still have to travel. So the waves are traveling around the Earth for a long time after an earthquake. All right, so now let's go back and let's look at the cross sections. So we're
all right. So there you go, Dutchie. Yeah. Let's do that again, huh? Let's replay this again for you so you can see how the P and S particle motion waves are relatively similar but different. The surface waves are more powerful than the particle wave. See that? Here's an example of the seismographs, and the particle wave in motion once again kind of resembled what we saw the other day there in Beirut when you saw the plume of doom. Kind of resembles that a lot. So, 10 days for your seismic pressure transfer theory. Golly, I think it's kind of been proven you're a fraud again. I mean, I know seismic waves move around the planet multiple times, but they get weaker, Dutchie. From the center of the epicenter there. So, all right. So what's this all got to do with? Well, back in 2011, we now can show and see, prove that Dutchie doesn't have a clue what he's talking about forecasting earthquakes, because I think I showed you at the beginning how the cosmic rays and charged particles from energy being ejected from the sun plays into how the tectonics roll and triggering earthquakes, Dutchie. Back in the day, we knew the difference, but you don't obviously know how to read seismic rays, or well, you call them pressure waves, right? You were calling them pressure waves, but I think they're called particle waves. Okay, but we'll move and change your seismic particle wave transfer theory into a better, more scientific, legit context. And this is how the particle waves worked. Yeah. And that's what causes the planet to shift. It causes the continents to move. It was back in 2011 to this big giant Japan earthquake. Hopefully, you'll understand and see what I was getting at back in the day. All right, here we go. HAARP, for HAARP-tards out there, let's step up the speed, because HAARP was used as a high-altitude aurora research project, and what they were studying was the solar fucking winds and the solar particles and cosmic rain. And then what I had been showing and pointing out, you watch this magnetic variation across on the induction magnometer. HAARP used to have this induction magnometer, and you would follow this magnet, and you could see the solar and energy charged particles hit the ionosphere. And when they got so powerful, when we got hit with a fucking solar flare, coincidentally enough, it correlated to a massive earthquake off the east coast of Japan. You know that, Dutchie? Let's replay this again for you to see it again how it works. A HAARP fluxgate magnometer was way back in the day when I got this stuff somewhere on video. I got it recorded. You know what I'm saying? And when this solar storm hit, it was major. I'm telling you, it was major enough to fucking crack the fucking subduction zone open and trigger a major tsunami. So this is some of the stuff that causes continents to split apart. Part of the earth changes. But now, this all fits in with Blavatsky's 7 cycles of the sun. Cosmic evolution. And here we go. I mean, look, I think I got it back here. Let's look at, was it here? Was this the video we saw yesterday with, they were making fun of the Hindu caste system? Or was it? Let me think. All right, let me switch over here. Give me a second here while I try to retrieve the video clip yesterday. How white people are being bashed and racism now takes a whole new context of this shit. Gosh darn it. Come on. Alright, we go to my history. See all. How this new racism BS yesterday. Yeah, this is it right here. We'll switch back. The headline in New York Times, I don't know if you saw it.
She's decided.
The headlines in the New York Times yesterday. All right, let's see if I can go back and get that too. Yeah, we'll figure this in. A little slow, trying to add in to connect the dots in this show. But here we go. What do America's racial problems have in common with India and Germany? Yeah. This is the headline Oprah was referencing to as she was bashing white people yesterday in the New York Times. So, in this article on the New York Times, at least 3 decades, this author of the book, Chast, The Origins of Discontent. Well, let's now talk about the origins of continents. as one. The first time, I don't think she's going to mention the fact that these continents and conversations about race in America have reached a top fever pitch. We hear Oprah talking about white privilege and white fragility and implicit bias and structural racism and systematic fucking bullshit varieties. But this urge and call for racial justice sometimes they're being faced with a perplexing manifold reality. And that manifesting reality is in relationship to our origins of races. So our racial order and hierarchical structure dates back, to the migration of tribes, you see. And all this racial hatred is being tied into tribal racism and tribal hatred. So when you want to concede, when the black community wants to concede to reality, then we can then continue on with analyzing and coming together as one so we can unite under this holocaust of horrors. And I want to illuminate things to you to show you to see how, in fact, largely besides the race thing, India is the origins of racism. That's Gandhi. So all this Islamic phobia, LGBT phobia, xenophobia, raceophobia, all this political correctness bullshit is all the stories of ancient history. But somehow, in fact, some N-word persons got their head up their ass thinking that it's tied in with white supremacy, but based upon the origin of this idea, the evolution of races certainly needs to be addressed. Yeah. So since Oprah obviously wants to spend all her time preaching to us on the internet as being so racially awoke, the reality is that it came from a Hindu caste system. Why be blaming white people? That's the problem. Why are you blaming white people for white supremacy when it all comes from the Hinduism? Who am I to point this dumbass mofo shit out? Huh? Why don't you blame the freaking Indians instead of these indigenous people for coming up with all this crap? Not my fault, but you're blaming me all the time. So here we go. Let's look at this once again.
That she is, we've moved on from self-help and Nate's, housekeeping tips. She's all in on Black Lives Matter, and she's all in about using her ability to educate people about things, which includes, regardless of whether you are the poorest of poor white people, you still have an inherent advantage than a person of colour in the United States.
There are white people who are not as powerful as the system of white people, the caste system that's been put in place, but they still, no matter where they are on the rung or the ladder of success, they still have their whiteness.
James, it's your former country, mate.
Well, yeah.
That's your future president.
I love to be told how racist the system is by a billionaire black media mogul in Oprah Winfrey. I look at some more of this thing. I mean, she said white people run the whole country, white people run the world, and everything. It's this weird stuff that almost sounds like it could come out of, the Klan or something like that if it wasn't coming from her. Did she just sleep through the 8 years when Barack Obama was president? I mean, it's just, this is bad. It's this collective guilt. She was talking to one of these guys who was saying, there's no such thing as, they have this idea that On one hand, there is no such thing as white culture, and white people are completely ill-cultured, illiterate, sheltered morons. And on the other hand, they run this whole complete cabal, which sounds a little bit like they could be saying something else too, if you know what I'm saying.
Correct.
But it's really sinister stuff. This collective guilt, this shaming. I mean, it's like, Oprah, you're a billionaire. A stacked system would not have let you become a billionaire.
But
No,
also,
Mr. Friend.
you know, dare I put, my head in the lion's mouth here, Corey, but alas, I seem to like it in there. It's so warm. This lady became very rich off some very poor white people who watched her every single day in the middle of the day. She made an awful lot of money off the very people who she turns around and says, you know, their inherent advantage. Now, we can have a conversation about the systems and all the rest of it here, but I was having this very conversation today with a mate of mine, Alan, about I think that it is very difficult to bring people along a journey if you turn around and say, even though you came from Housing Commission or poverty or had, you know, a drunk for a father or an abusive mother, or, you know, you left home at, you know, certain teenage years, you're still better off than X, Y or Z. This is a really terrible way to try to bring people with you, because I think that if you want to have social change, rather than guilting people into social change, pointing out the inherent unfairness of things is actually how you bring people along. Now, again, I'm going to go back to same-sex marriage, because I think when most people saw the equation of, well, I can get married to my girlfriend, fiance in a park in front of our friends, right? Well, why shouldn't Trevor be able to do the same thing with his mate? Now, I know we had different views on all of that, but again, it was a different way of viewing it as what somebody else wasn't able to have, as opposed to something that you inherently have always had, regardless of your, apparently your birthright was privilege, Corey.
Yeah, Paul, you know, you and I have had differences of opinion and on a number of issues, but they're respectful. The fact is, it doesn't make you a bad person or me a bad person. We're allowed to have different views. I mean,
But we
that's
agree,
what
I'm
makes
always
the
right.
world interesting. Yeah, well, in the end, we agree that you've been mistaken a couple of times. Right? I'll go with that. But what Oprah did was inherently, absolutely, everything that she's professing to campaign against. It was racist. It was judging people on the colour of their skin. And that's, we've been taught from Martin Luther King for decades that we should judge people by the content of their character. And if she's suggesting that there's some privilege in some poor redneck from in a trailer park in, you know, backwoods Indiana or wherever it is, and that they've got more privilege than she does and some of the superstars of Hollywood, well, it just proves how out of touch she is, that like a lot of in the entertainment industry, they are abject hypocrites. They are absolutely hypocritical, because what they will jump on is contrary to what they've lived themselves. And we've seen that with Ellen DeGeneres, and now we're seeing it with Oprah.
Well, hang on, can I just let Twitter just compose? How dare 4 white men on television, you know, tweet away, I'll never see it. Tweet into the video, I will never see it, all right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never see your tweets about me. Yeah, me neither. No doubt about it. That's what it kind of throws into the mix, how Y and C, how, yeah. Indian history is now being canceled because of racism. But as you'll see now, why the caste system is included in plate tectonics, the fundamental understanding of cosmic evolution. Yeah. We're going to move over here. The reality. Let's hear this reality.
Any part of the world, from Bangladesh, Nigeria, Sri Lanka, it has nothing to do with Hinduism and the caste system, and somehow there is a lot of, if like, gymnastics going on to somehow try and shoehorn this as a caste issue. Let me just be very clear. First of all, let me tell you what is caste system in Hinduism. The scriptures of authority simply make one statement, the division of labor based on your ability. This is how humanity should operate. This is a very simple, honest statement that operates in all civilized societies. You stream your youngsters to take on specific duties because that suits their temperament. This is the original idea of caste. But in no time, this becomes degenerate and turns into socio-economic stratification visible in every society in the world, whereby you create a hereditary hierarchical system every society, the English class system is precisely that. A hereditary hierarchical class system is no different from this idea of caste being promoted in Hindu. The Hindu scriptures authority have never sanctioned the hereditary caste or hereditary hierarchical caste system. It is an atrocity that was committed in the name of religion. It is not religion. This is very honest. Now the problem is this. You see, there are people who are very egalitarian saying we must kind of stamp out this kind of discrimination. It's a wonderful idea. And I will tell the secular society, the humanist society, look, it's a marvelous idea, rather than turn your attention to the Hindu caste issue, because let me tell you what the caste in London is like. I teach Hinduism to tens of thousands of Hindus throughout the country. I go to schools, colleges, universities. I teach at Eton College. Now, when I ask these youngsters what profession are you going to take up, they say, we are going to become doctors. I say, what is your inheritance? What did your forefathers do? They were farmers or potters. Or I say, why are you changing your profession? Oh, my mommy said, be a doctor. Then I ask them a second question. Suppose you run a Hindu society and a Hindu boy walks in, I'm a Brahmin, you must salute me. What do you do to him? They say, we stand up and show him very rude hand gestures. So I say, no time, hereditary hierarchical caste system is dead. It is not Hindu. It was never Hindu. It is a socio-economic stratification still visible in India, very horrendous system, still in the villages in India. And this is what Eugene is trying to fight, and I agree with that. But in United Kingdom, this is non-existent.
Is it non-existent here, Eugene?
Yeah, you see, he is talking from his angle. In my language, I will say it's a total blatant lie. And those who lie are called liars. I don't want to say that. Let my gentleman friend come. I will show you how many number of people are discriminated on the basis of caste in schools, children, in job opportunities, in marriage.
But in UK or in India?
In UK, I am talking about UK. I am 19 years. I am in UK, and I am experiencing all these things. The other only last Friday.
So how are you experiencing it then? People are coming to you and telling you about?
Yeah, about the different cases. National Institute of Economic and Social Science Research, they have conducted a study on this, and the scholars have done studies on this. The UK public have expressed their desire to implement equality in this country through their Parliament and enacted Equalities Act 2010 and amended to 2013.
But what do you say? Are you saying it's very limited, or do you believe it's broadly out there? Is it a limited view?
I don't think that the whole 60 million UK population is affected by this. But only people who have come from South Asian diaspora, they are affected by this. About 1 million people. I can give you the statistics of Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Sikhs. All these people are practicing caste discrimination. The temples, viharas and everything are built on caste basis. Their administrations are done by caste basis. Caste-based social organizations are existing in UK.
I don't know a single temple where there is caste discrimination visible in the United Kingdom. Let me tell you. Once the BBC asked me, Mr. Lakhani, do you know where is hereditary hierarchical caste system practiced in the United Kingdom? I said, Madam, I know, but don't edit me out. The hereditary hierarchical system is most visible with full pomp and glory in the House of Lords and in Buckingham Palace. By mere birth, a person is considered to be head of the state as well as head of the religion. This is caste system, English style. So what passes off as the English class system is equivalent to this, what is going on in some of the villages in India, hereditary hierarchical caste system. If the secularists wish to really address the issue of producing an egalitarian society, I would suggest please focus your attention on the hereditary hierarchical English class system, which is definitely discriminatory.
So just looking though then at this case in particular, the tribunal found that the claimant, Pamela Turkey, was acceptable to the Chandoks as their domestic servant, not because of her skills, but because she was by birth, by virtue of her inherited position in society and by virtue of her upbringing, a person whose expectations in life were no higher than to be a domestic servant. Do you?
So let's pause there for a moment and talk about the elite hierarchical caste system. Yeah, the elite hierarchical caste system, and let's address this issue. I don't think anybody wants to come and address this issue with me, Oprah. Let's address the issue, of the hierarchical African caste system. You see, it seems to be, we had a pharaoh, named Anikaton, was it called? Yeah. He seemed to have this hierarchical African caste system where they, the ruling class, the master class, the serpent king class, had a ruling class over the slaves back in Africa. So let's summon up the spirits and ask you why, Oprah, you haven't addressed the African hierarchy caste system over in Egypt. Huh. Seems to be some of you Africans out there have got your head stuck up your ass because the African hierarchical caste system was the one that promoted slavery. So all your equality, political correctness bullshit can't face the fact white people don't want to be enslaved by black people because you started all this shit. So wake up. It's coming. Man elders told us that well, let me just say, in the cosmic evolution, this Oz symbol has a 7-point star. The 7-point star, the 5-point star, sacred geometry are the stars. It was the book in The Secret Doctrine by Helen Blavatsky. You got to get up to speed with me here. The 7 star is an avatar, just like the 3 wise men that came from the Orient afar. They were looking for a star, the avatar. The Jesus was born and conceived without the serpent seed, born of a virgin birth. Have you heard this story about it yet? Well, anyhow, somewhere before all this stuff came together, yeah, we're going to find out the origins of the caste system in India and Egypt and Babylon and Iraq, because that's where it all originated. So stop fucking putting this white guilt trip down my fucking back that I'm some superior fucking master race when all this bullshit came from the Hindus and the Egyptians and the Babylonians. So here we go. I'm going to present with you this ancient freaking African caste system. Oprah, you know, you elected a president to be some freaking pseudo demigod from the serpent kingdom of Egypt as your president. Look, was he a clone or what? You won't see this stuff on YouTube, America. You won't see this hidden secret society shit in your face, and they shit all over you with their slave master class fucking ideology. But who am I to point this shit out?
They could not find the main entrance, which is located up there, and they did open all the way up. His name is Car, and his name is written hieroglyphic as Car, and actually
That looks like me. Look at those ears.
and he was the overseer of the pyramid city of Cheops and Kefren and Menkaure.
Oh, you won't.
Was a historic speech. It will have a far-reaching impact to the region, all throughout the region and beyond. I issued the statement strongly welcoming and supporting what President Obama said. Mr. Vice President, it's good to see you again. Yes, good to see you again. Thank you very much.
There you go. You never know, do you? Yeah. Look at that freaking African hierarchy, slave master caste system that Obama and Biden participate in. But who am I to say, you frickin' liberal, silly willy liberals out there dancing in the street, waving your fist in the air, Black Lives and Antifa, animal rights protesting, all you frickin' Looney Tunes out there haven't got a clue how cosmic evolution and the plate tectonics and African pyramids and all these other pyramids and all their continents are all one time in together, tied into this master serpent hierarchy caste system. Yeah, I've become death, the destroyer of worlds. This line from the Hindu sacred text of Bhagavad Gita to redefine Robert Oppenheimer's quest of unlocking the secrets of the sun in Operation Trinity. So as the guise of success and being made of aware, the roots of mankind, the races of mankind. How do we gonna get rid of them all? Make one race? Is that the goal? We just mold all the races together. That's the policy of the New World Order. Even though they want to eliminate and cancel out the 7 root races of evolutionary cycles through which humanity evolves. Each root race is divided into 7 minor cycles, known as the sub-races. And the cycles of cosmic evolution, which again is part of today's topic on plate tectonics, is fundamental in understanding how plate tectonics caused the divisions of continents and the divisions of races when they broke apart into pieces. So it must be stressed that the sub-races refer to cultural qualities, not to the level of evolution of the soul. So there are different evolutionary stages of humanity as whole goes through this successful cycle. The Mayans claim it occurs every 50, 200 years, kind of like the days of Noah. And individuals comprise the current humanity being rebirthed and described as the 6th extinction event. Do you understand the terminology of this stage, which they describe under the sacred geometry? Do you know what that means? Because you don't know what the symbol and the 7-pointed star in the circle obviously identifies yet with the practice of pagan societies. So currently, we are presently in the 5th stage, referred to as the symbol of the pentagram. Unfortunately, there have been many civilizations of which we know nothing about, and these races that were extinct and from the dark matter before us, every root race has what is considered a splinter race, a split called the sub-race of species. And through the cycles, development of evolution repeated, our race, the root race, crossed over in the cycle onward, and the 7 rounds decreased respectively. So I'm describing it, in fact, the root race of theosophy. The root races, the first root race, continued to be described under this tectonic plate theory that when Pangea was one, we had the Polarians, the first root race of primary spirituality and astral etheric remains. So of the root races then came the Hyperboreans. The Hyperborean root race was semi-astral, but grew denser and more opaque with each passing age. Towards its end, it became more gelatinous and flamboyant in structure. However, towards its end, its bodies passed through the many curious part animal forms. And then we had the third root race, the Lemurians. The Lemurians was the first with physical bodies. They were described as a race of three-eyed giants and inhabited on a lost continent of Lemuria, which is where the Indian and Pacific Oceans are now. Modern theosophists sometimes identify Lemuria with the actual ancient subcontinent of Gondwana. Others refer to it as the land of Mu. And in previous videos on this channel, I have already done enough research and videos on how the land of Mu is in fact a chunk of our planet known as the moon. So in the age of cosmic evolution, we arrive to the fourth root race of theosophy known as the Atlanteans. And then the Atlanteans followed through and included in the 6 and 7 subraces within the cycles of cosmic evolution. The cycles work in sevens, as Madame Blavatsky described in The Secret Doctrine. Within this circle, there are 7 other circles. Within the circle of Oz, upon the symbol above, you see the 7-pointed star. Here's the symbol of the 7 cycles of cosmic evolution. The symbol of Aleister Crowley. Who am I to point out? The 7 sub-races include Ramos, Travithas, the Toltecs, the first Turanians, and the original Semites, the Akkadians, and the Mongolians. We have the fifth root race known as the Aryans. This is where it all gets confusing in the mix, because cancel culture doesn't want to face up to the fact that this present cosmic evolution consisted of the 5 sub-races of Aryans. And then in the cosmic evolution, we still haven't achieved to and revealed and seen the 6th root race symbolized in cosmic evolution as a 7-pointed star, as that will be the symbol of the Avatar, the sign in the sky that 3 wise men followed all the way from Orient afar. The arrival of the Messiah, you see, will be the key to the 6th root race, and those 7 sub-races that descend from it, or him. So, end note, ending up and creating this planetary period where the earth broke into pieces and many cycles of civilization were seen and stimulated in this diagram as the continents broke apart in the cycles of cosmic evolution. So the earth on which the first race lived was more ethereal than it is today, but you never know. The first root race of the seal of God will soon be revealed to all. And where will we pass in the ages of time? In this celestial alignment, humanity's awakening. Once again, self-karma. During the fifth subrace of the third race, however, the manas were fully developed in the end of the fifth round. What's this all mean of Hindu mythology and the caste system identified by Oprah? The fourth Atlantean root race developed bodies far more brilliant than any other. But the key to knowing how the subraces of Atlantis play a role, however, in the destruction of Lemuria, at this present stage of evolution, you still haven't under clue how the war between the root and subraces are playing out today in the news. Even though the Aryan race has no speech to say, this dream world fantasy of noise of what happened before in the pre-Adamic age. So as the Chinese now speak of how there was one continent and the earth expanded and broke into pieces, creating hybrids of many root races, the Atlantean continent was gradually sinking while the new America was forming. Eventually, it left behind the bigger of which Poseidon mentioned, or Plato in his writings, that the sinking of Atlantis, yeah, the sinking of Atlantis was observed during the Mycenaean period, and now certain that as our continents are gradually moving, the final disappearance of the latest continent is evident coincident with the evolution of the Himalayas. So it's fair to say when Plato mentioned the adepts of time and the black musicians who controlled over humanity, yeah. Remember, we're talking now about this black musician hierarchy caste system before Adam and Eve. Oprah still hasn't conceived yet, has she? Because the seeds, the serpent seeds of the sixth race are already sown largely in the United States as we now end our Kali Yuga. Once again, beyond Hindu imagination in the sixth race of consciousness, the flesh of the sixth sub-race and root race will be tender and soft, during which, before the seeds of the fifth root race began, Indian civilization was most evolved spiritually before Oprah came along and got rich off of a bunch of white people's money. Told you before. She's a fraud. She had all the opportunity to become a billionaire, and I told you before, the highest people on earth are those who have spirituality. They belong to the sub-race of the fifth root race, those of the Aryan Asiatics, the highest race of physical intellectuality. The highest race of physical intellectuality is the last sub-race of the fifth. Yourselves, the white conquerors. So, to point out the current cycle of the fifth root race, Madame Blavatsky wrote, humanity is on the descending pathway of its cycle. The rear guard of the fifth race is crossing slowly. The apex of its evolution will soon find itself passing the turning point. And as the descent is always more rapid than the ascent, men of the coming new age are beginning to drop occasionally. And every sub-race and nation have their cycles and stages of development evolution, repeated on a smaller scale. Our race that has a root race crossed with the equatorial line and cycling onward on the spiritual side. Some of the sub-races still find themselves on the shadowy descending arc of the respective national cycles other than passing the crucial point. Alone decides whether a race, a nation, or a tribe will live or perish. I have become death. Yeah. The destroyer of worlds. So the occult doctrine admits there is no such divisions as Aryans and the Semites, especially the Arabs and Aryans. The Jews, according to Blavatsky, were a race descended from the Chandeliers. The Chandeliers were the result of a misintegration between Aryans and the primates. So, where have you heard that before, huh? The Jews came from apes, huh? Where have you heard that? But Israel, came from Isis, Ra, and Elohim. The hierarchy of the African caste system, once again. So, in conclusion, moving on and to wrap up today's show, it's used to show that the Vedic text in today's terms and modern literature is generally being accepted that a cosmic evolutionary cycle is 12,000 years long. So nevertheless, we may be at disagreement in seeing how this all plays into our magical masters who've measured these thousands of years and other times as millions of years. So if one uses 1,000 years is like a day, and a day is like 1,000 years, we can pretty much reasonably match closely the modern anthropology and geology that the secret doctrine in its credible work, almost unmanageable, how these ascended masters are clearly explaining through the passages of time the root races of mankind.
We are in the process of trying to decide how to change the dates for the new kingdom of this period.
Book, The Secret Doctrine, in the year 1888. These races existed, mainly on now lost continents. According to Blavatsky's writings, there will be 7 root races assembled on Earth. Each root race is divided into 7 sub-races. Only 5 root races have appeared so far. The 6th root race is expected to emerge in the 28th century. We are presently at the 5th stage, referred to as the Aryans. The word Aryans means noble in Sanskrit. It is unfortunate that the term Aryan was adopted and perverted by Hitler and his intellectual predecessors, fantasies of an Aryan Superman, and is still used today by right-wing, white power extremists. Hitler and his inner circle also perverted some genuine ancient symbols, like the swastika, an ancient Sanskrit symbol. There have been many Earth civilizations, of which we know nothing. These races evolved from ethereality to materiality. So every living organic species of animals and vegetation changes with every new root race. Every subrace and nation have their circles and stages of developmental evolution repeated on a similar scale. Our race then has as a root race crossed the middle line of the root races and is cycling onward on the spiritual side. The periods of the great root races are divided from each other by great convulsions of nature and by great geological changes. Every root race is separated by a catastrophe or a cataclysm. The basis and historical foundation of the fables woven later on into the religious fabric of every people, whether civilized or savage, under the names of deluges, showers of fire, and like the great flood. Our present continents have been submerged and had the time to reappear again and bear their new groups of mankind and civilizations, and that at the first great geological upheaval, at the next cataclysm, in the series of periodical cataclysms that occur from the beginning to the end of every round, our known continents will go down and the ancient continents will rise again. It must be remembered that the theosophical concept is that souls develop through an evolutionary process from mineral, plant, animal, and human. There is no transmigration backward, so a human cannot go backward to an animal, or a plant for example. Francis Bacon, whom Theosophy considers to be the legendary Count of Saint-Germain, in his work The New Atlantis, in the year 1627, describes a potential future civilization which lives on the land called Ben Salem. The first root race, Polarian. The first root race was ethereal. They were composed of etheric matter. They reproduced by dividing like an amoeba. Earth was still cooling at that time. The first mountain to arise out of the stormy ocean was Mount Peru. They had huge translucent or transparent bodies, ovoid though somewhat fluid in form, with no bones or organs, and no hair or skin. They slowly grew more solid, but remained ethereal until the end. The race was sexless and propagated by fission. A large portion of the body separated itself and grew into a duplicate of its parent, similar to living cells today. In contrast to the huge and highly ethereal cells of the first race, our physical bodies today begin their existence as a microscopic cell or egg, a speck of gelatinous protoplasm which slowly hardens and grows into the human form. The second root race, Hyperborean. The second root race lived in Hyperborea. They were semi-astral beings, but grew denser and more opaque with each passing age. Towards its end, it became more gelatinous and filamentoid in structure, and developed the rudimentary beginnings of bones and organs, hair and skin. Although still more or less a void in form, they began to show the first outlines of the later human form. However, towards its end, its bodies passed through many curious part animal forms. The climate was tropical because the Earth had not yet developed an axial tilt. The second root race has no present-day descendants. The first two races were not fully human, as they had no self-conscious minds. Their consciousness was like that of someone in a daze or deep daydream. They were guided by spiritual instinct and were mentally much like children. The third root race, Lemurian. The Lemurians lived in Lemuria. According to Theosophists, existed in a large part of what is now the Indian Ocean, including Australia, and extending into the South Pacific Ocean. Its last remnants are the Australian continent, the island of New Guinea, and the island of Madagascar. Modern Theosophists sometimes identify Lemuria with the actual ancient supercontinent of Gondwana. Others may refer to it as Mu. Lemuria sank gradually and was eventually destroyed by erupting volcanoes. According to traditional theosophy, the Lemurian root race began 34.5 million years ago, in the middle of what was then believed to be the Jurassic. Thus, the people of Lemuria coexisted with the dinosaurs. The early third root race was hermaphrodite, or androgynous. The Lemurians were the first with physical bodies. They were described as a race of three-eyed giants and inhabited a lost continent of Lemuria. The first three subraces of the Lemurians reproduced by laying eggs, but the fourth subrace, beginning 16.5 million years ago, began to reproduce like modern humans. The Lemurians were endowed with a third eye at the top of the head. It was in fact the first eye, the two front eyes developing later. It is also known as the Eye of Shiva, the Wisdom Eye, or the Diva Eye. It was originally an organ of both physical and spiritual vision. With the development of increasingly material bodies and the separation of the sexes, the eye began to lose its power. It gradually petrified and finally disappeared from the outward anatomy of humans in the middle of the third subrace of the Atlanteans. Some describe the third eye of the Cyclops to be the pineal gland of the brain, or what today is known as the third eye of modern humans. As Lemuria slowly submerged due to volcanic eruptions, the Lemurians colonized the areas surrounding Lemuria, such as Africa, southern India, and the East Indies. The fourth root race, Atlantean. The fourth root race starts with a race of two-eyed giant humans, beginning about 60 feet tall, then decreasing to 20 to 30 feet tall, which got progressively smaller until they reached modern human size. The descendants of the Atlanteans, according to traditional theosophy, include those of the Mongolian race, the Malayan race, the American Indian race, as well as some people of what in the 19th and early 20th centuries was called the olive-skinned Mediterranean race. The civilization of Atlantis. During the long period of time when Atlantis was ruled by the Toltecs, the ancestors of the Amerindians, the civilization of Atlantis was at its height. This was the period between 1,000,000 and 900,000 years ago, called the Golden Age of Atlantis. The Atlanteans had many luxuries and conveniences. Their capital city was called the City of the Golden Gates. At its height, it had 2 million inhabitants. The Atlanteans had airships, powered by the Vril, that could seat 2 to 8 people. The downfall of Atlantis started when some of the Toltecs began to practice black magic about 850,000 BC. Corrupted by the dragon, Devatat, remembered as Devadatta, the opponent of Buddha. Although they were opposed by white magicians, the war between the white magicians and the black magicians continued until the end of Atlantis. The masters of the ancient wisdom telepathically warned their disciples, the white magicians, to flee Atlantis in ships while there was still time to get out before the final cataclysm. The Atlantean continent was gradually sinking while the new America was forming. Eventually it left behind a few islands, the bigger of which was Poseidonus, mentioned by Plato in his writings. The fifth root race, Aryan. Blavatsky asserted humanity was in the fifth root race, or Indo-European humanity, and like all major new races, received guidance from divine instructors. Since then, a series of migrations have taken place, and many civilizations have come and gone. This age of rapid material progress will last for another 427,000 years. The present-day ethnic group most closely related to the new race is the Kabayo. The bards of the new white root race poetically referred to the new race as being moon-colored. A small group of these Aryan migrants from Atlantis split from the main body of migrants and went south to the shore of an inland sea, a verdant and lush Sahara, where they founded the City of the Sun. The main body of migrants continued onward to an island called the White Island, in the middle of what was then an inland sea, in what is now called the Gobi Desert, where they established the City of the Bridge. The City of the Bridge was constructed directly below the etheric city called Shambhala, where Theosophists believe the governing deity of earth, Sanat Kumara, dwells. Thus, the ongoing evolution of the Aryan root race has been divinely guided by the being Theosophists call the Lord of the World. The seeds of the sixth root race are already being sown, largely in the Americas, and will become fairly numerous towards the end of the Kali Yuga, subraces of the Aryan root race. The constituent subraces of the Aryan fifth or present root race include the following. Blavatsky described the fifth root race with the following words. The Aryan races, for instance, now varying from dark brown, almost black, red-brown, yellow, down to the whitest creamy color, are yet all one of the same stock. The fifth round will see the full development of manas, mind, the sixth of Bauti, intuitive wisdom, and the seventh of Atman, the inner divinity. If we make the grade successfully, we shall become like Buddhas. The sixth root race, Seal. According to Blavatsky, the sixth subrace of the Aryan root race will begin to evolve in the area of the United States in the early 21st century. This sixth subrace of the Aryan root race will be called the Australo-American subrace, and is believed by theosophists to be now arising from the Teutonic subrace of the Aryan root race in Australia and in the western United States. Many individuals of the new subrace will be born in California and its surrounding nearby areas. For example, the Australo-American subrace arising from the Anglo-American, Anglo-Canadian, Anglo-Australian, and presumably also the Anglo-New Zealander ethnic groups. The sixth, or Australo-American subrace, will possess certain psychic powers, and for this the pituitary body will be developed, thus giving us an additional sense, that of cognizing astral emotions in the ordinary waking consciousness. We may say that in general, the sixth subrace will bring in wisdom and intuition, blending all that is best in the intelligence of the fifth subrace and the emotion of the fourth. The seventh root race, Trumpet. The last race will have its spiritual deity, or Buddha for example, as every one of its predecessors had, but its adepts will be far higher than any other present race. For among them will abide the future planetary, the Dayan Kohen, whose duty it will be to instruct or refresh the memory of the first race, or the fifth round men, after this planet's future obscuration. By the middle of the seventh race, says an occult prophecy, the struggle of the two conflicting powers between Baudi and Kamamanas will have almost died out. Everything that is irredeemably sinful, wicked, cruel, and destructive will have been illuminated, and that which is found to survive will be swept away from being. In the seventh root race, humanity will fuse mind and intuition with Atma, the inner spiritual self, and will then be able to function consciously as the higher self, the spiritual triad of Atma, Baudi Manas. This development and advancement will in the far distant future eventually come out naturally for humanity. All sexual difference will then have ceased to exist. Conception and birth will take place in an entirely spiritual way. We are currently only halfway through the progress of our planetary scheme, and that the majestic climax and the end of the root races for humanity is not destined to occur until the end of the seventh root race, of the seventh round, of the seventh globe, of the seventh chain, billions of years from now. We can easily see that the end is nowhere in sight, and that this world and the human race will not be destroyed, despite the multitude of doomsday sayers who insist that it will. Any apparent end is merely a new beginning, and the divine plan and purpose shall carry on, unabated, as the endless ages roll on. At the end of the seventh root race, Trumpet, the human period of activity on Earth will cease. The lower principles of the Earth chain will die and disintegrate. A long planetary period of rest will begin. After this period of nirvana, we shall become the guides of humanity and lower entities on the next embodiment of the Earth chain.
What a fascinating look at cosmic evolution. Note, this was Gary Light's presentations you just saw. I'd like to thank him for his excellent videography and presentation on the root races of mankind. So, as you see, yeah, Helen Blavatsky has all written it out in the Secret Doctrine. Doomsday Dutchie sits out there thinking he's got it all figured out. Coming up with the next freaking volcano in California to erupt, right? Yeah. We're waiting on that, Dutchie. We're waiting on your cosmic evolution bullshit. Yeah, we're waiting on it. So much of this shit we see. You've tried to hijack all this knowledge as your own, and I bet you right now trying to figure out another way to stroke your ego with more forest fires along the San Andreas Fault. We see your corporate greedy ass game. We knew it all along when you first started out thinking you could become famous, selling doomsday bunkers for FEMA clients. So we're spiritually awake here at No Link News Today, just showing you the final up to bring you up to speed to see how the cosmic cycles, cosmic evolution, play a fundamental understanding in plate tectonics, Dutchie. Might want to go see my video I still have up right now. It's public. Yeah. You might want to go look at this video. It explains to you and sees how the fifth mysterious element all ties into earthquakes. Okay? Manly P. Hall on the subject of earthquakes and how this charged particles and this mysterious cosmic energy can be channeled through our bodies and at this negative power. Enough people get enough anger in them, we're going to frickin' trigger earth changes with major earthquakes. I got a rage inside me, Dutchie. Justice and judgment day's coming for you, man. You just haven't got everybody woke up enough yet and be prepared. Because this ain't about your death, Dutchie. It's about the spiritual transition to a new body, you see. The ascension is coming, my friend, in the new age. You obviously are not preparing people with your bullshit of preparing for an earthquake. I think you need to just step off on the side and start waking people up, shaking them around. They're asleep. And here's what I'm saying. They're still asleep. They're way still asleep yet. Let my million elders explain the transition period once again to you.
In Maya, we need to pray to the sun. We need to pray to the cosmos, because the sun may wake up your memory. We the Mayas, in the Popol Vuh, in our sacred book, say, when Tepeo and Gugumats, they were here, they begin to watch how the Creator began to do formation of the earth, the Mother Earth. In Maya, we need to pray to the sun. We need to pray to the cosmos, because the sun may wake up your memory. We the Mayas, in the Popol Vuh, in our sacred book, say, when Tepeo and Gugumats, they were here, they begin to watch how the Creator began to do formation of the earth, the Mother Earth. So Tepeo and Gugumats, they've been watching. So difficult to understand this, because where they were, Tepeo and Gugumats? They were in some place in the cosmos. And then, because they watched that, so they know the beginning of everything. What the Popol Vuh they don't say? The monkeys, they were watching how the creator had been doing the world. No? They say Tepeo and Gugumas. And Tepeo is the first creator for everything.
That's why what we're talking about, you and I, that is the waking of the consciousness. We must feel like important people. Before going by to something else, I want to leave a phrase with you for this moment, please. This is a secret for each and every one of you, for your family, for your patients in your community. Because a lot of people ask, what should I do when I feel my energy's low? When I feel negative energy? What do I do to renew it? To renew myself? Take the energy from the Father, the Son, and give it the movement of your eye. Because the eye never has its very own movement. To look up, down, to the sides,